Welcome back to English Unfiltered, the podcast where we explore real conversations in English. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. And today we're diving into a feeling that I think literally every single person listening to this right now has experienced at least once.
Oh, absolutely. It's that crushing moment. Imagine you've spent like 5 years studying the language, right?
Right, yeah.
You've memorized all the irregular verbs. You practiced your pronunciation in the mirror until your jaw literally ached.
We have all been there with the mirror practice.
Exactly. Yeah. And you finally step off the plane in a new city. You are just full of confidence. And you walk up to a local to ask a really simple question. You say, "Excuse me, do you know where the train station is?"
The ultimate test.
And they barely break their stride. They don't even really look at you. And they hit you with a single, completely flat word.
Sure.
Just down the block.
Oh, man.
And suddenly, all that confidence just totally evaporates. You feel like, I don't know, like you've just ruined their entire day.
It is such a crushing feeling because you walk away and you're immediately replaying the whole interaction in your head thinking, what did I do wrong? Did I mispronounce something? Why are they so mad at me?
Yeah, you blame yourself instantly.
Totally. But here is the massive sort of hidden secret to all of this. They aren't mad at you. They aren't annoyed. You just basically collided headfirst with a totally different emotional rhythm.
Right. And that is exactly what we are unpacking today. We're going to dive deep into the sort of hidden social psychology of the English language.
Yeah.
Because we want to figure out why native speakers so often sound, rude.
And it's funny because when we talk to learners about feeling, brushed off or dismissed, the word that always comes up is cold.
Yes, cold. All the time.
Especially for people coming from naturally expressive cultures, right? So maybe from Latin America or the Middle East or Southern Europe.
Places where language has a lot of natural warmth built into it.
Exactly. They often describe interacting with native English speakers like walking in, expecting a warm, comforting embrace, and instead getting a very stiff, brisk handshake.
Which is such a jarring physical reality to imagine. I mean, if you go in for a hug and get a stiff arm, your brain immediately registers rejection.
It's an instant threat response, yeah.
But if we break down the linguistic mechanics of why that happens, it actually has to do with how different cultures structurally signal politeness.
Right, because many languages are basically built on a foundation of constant emotional reassurance.
What do you mean by that, like mechanically?
So mechanically, you soften your requests. You use diminutives to make words sound softer or cuter. You weave a ton of musicality into the pitch of your voice, basically to prove that you are a safe, friendly presence.
Oh, I see. Like you're constantly padding the interaction.
Yes, exactly. You're giving the other person a linguistic hug.
But English it doesn't really do that. Or at least it doesn't build that reassurance into the basic grammatical structure. We don't have like built-in diminutive endings for every noun to make things sound sauced.
No, we really don't.
And we don't usually add 10 extra words of padding just to ask someone for the time.
Right, because English operates on a very different baseline frequency. In linguistic terms, it leans really heavily towards being a low-context language.
Okay, low context.
Yeah. Practically speaking, that just means the words themselves are expected to carry the literal data, and speakers don't automatically pad those words with emotional fluff just to say hello. The information is just bare.
Which leads to a really interesting question. If the language isn't inherently designed to provide that constant emotional padding, it's not giving us that linguistic hug. What is the architectural purpose of English?
That's a great way to frame it.
Like if I'm an engineer, right, and I'm designing this language, what feature am I maximizing?
You are maximizing speed. Speed and absolute ruthless efficiency. Conversational English is highly optimized to move information from person A to person B as quickly and clearly as humanly possible.
Wow, okay. It actually reminds me of data compression.
Oh, like zipping a file.
Exactly. It's like zipping a massive computer file. If you want to send a huge amount of data over a network, you compress it down to the smallest possible file size so it transfers faster. English vocabulary in normal conversation feels like a zipped file.
That is a phenomenal way to look at it. The words are just the compressed data. And because the culture underlying the language really prioritizes getting things done moving forward, getting to the point quickly is actually considered like the highest form of politeness.
Wait. Let me stop you there, because I want to voice what a lot of listeners are probably thinking right now.
Sure, go for it.
If I am listening to this, and I come from a culture where hospitality and, taking your time with someone is the literal definition of respect. The idea that rushing someone is polite sounds totally backward. So are native English speakers just like inherently impatient people who don't care about feelings?
I love that you asked that because it totally sounds counterintuitive. But think about what a fast-paced, highly individualized culture considers its absolute most valuable resource.
Time.
It's time. If you are at work and you need a document from a coworker, spending 5 minutes asking about their weekend, their family, their dog, before finally asking for the document isn't seen as friendly.
Right.
It's actually seen as holding them hostage.
You're eating up their bandwidth.
Yes. You are forcing them to expend emotional energy and time when they might be super stressed or under a tight deadline.
So by being brief, you're actually showing empathy.
Exactly. Saying, hey, could you send me that report when you get a second? Thanks. is deeply respectful. You are basically communicating, I know you are busy. I won't waste your time. Here is exactly what I need.
We call it cutting to the chase.
Right. Cutting to the chase.
I've actually noticed that beating around the bush, which for our listeners is our idiom for taking a long, indirect route to a topic, it actually triggers a lot of anxiety in English speakers.
Oh, 100%.
If someone approaches me and starts heavily complimenting my recent work, and then they're asking these overly detailed questions about my life, my internal alarm bells start ringing.
Because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Exactly. I'm just standing there thinking, what do they want? Just tell me the bad news.
We absolutely crave the bottom line, but that cultural craving creates a massive mechanical problem for the learner.
How so?
Well, if the goal is to compress the data and get to the bottom line instantly, native speakers rely heavily on microscopic one-word answers. Words like, yeah, sure, fine, okay.
Which brings us directly back to the zipped file analogy.
Exactly.
If a tiny word like fine is the compressed file, then the tone you use to say it is the software that untacks its meaning.
That is spot on. And if you don't know how to use that software, short answers are absolutely terrifying.
Oh, they're a complete minefield. Because if you look up fine in a standard dictionary, it simply means acceptable or satisfactory.
Right. But in the wild, out on the street, that literal definition is almost irrelevant. English depends so heavily on a pitch, rhythm, and timing that the exact same single-syllable word can express pure joy, neutral agreement, passive-aggressive anger, or complete devastation.
Okay. Let's put this under the microscope. It's one thing to just sit here and say tone matters, but we really need to hear the actual mechanics of it.
Let's do it.
Let's take the word fine. I'm going to ask you for a favor. Let's pretend we are roommates, and I ask, hey, do you mind if I have some friends over tonight? I want you to give me the absolute, neutral, efficient, data-compressed response.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, let's break down what just happened physically. Your pitch was completely flat.
Yeah.
There's no melodic variation at all. And the speed was really quick.
Right, because I just authorized the request. There's no hidden meaning, no underlying frustration. It literally just means yes.
But if I'm a learner who culturally expects a huge smile and a, yes, of course, I'd love that.
Yeah.
You're flat, rapid, that's fine. Feels like a slap in the face.
Oh, totally. You'd think I was furious.
I'm going to assume you hate my friends.
Right.
Okay, let's change the parameters. I want you to use the exact same words, but this time you are genuinely furious with me because I always invite people over without asking.
Sure, that's fine.
Ouch.
Wow. Yeah, that was harsh.
The mechanics there were completely different. There was a heavy sigh before you even opened your mouth.
Yep.
You inserted a hard physical pause after the word sure, and you really dragged out the vowel sound in fine. It sounded so heavy.
Notice how the pitch of my voice dropped at the very end, too.
Yeah, it went really low.
It went into what we call vocal fry, that low, gravelly sound. That drop in pitch is basically the audio equivalent of a slammed door. I am agreeing to your request literally, but emotionally, I am warning you that there will be consequences.
Yeah, I am definitely doing the dishes for the next month after that response. Okay, now do it one more time, same words, but this time you are thrilled. You love my friends. You want them to come over. It is the best news you've heard all day.
Oh, sure. That's totally fine.
The musicality returned.
It did.
Your pitch started high. It bounced up and down. The rhythm was much faster. And you added filler words like, oh, and totally to pad out the sentence.
And that is the crucial trap for anyone trying to master this language. Learners spend years analyzing English literally. They study the ink on the page.
Right.
But written English and spoken English are almost two entirely different operating systems. In spoken English, the emotional meaning is entirely housed in the physical production of the word.
The speed, The breath, the pitch.
Exactly, in that specific microsecond.
We have to try this with another major culprit, the word sure.
Oh, sure is the ultimate conversational filler word.
Native speakers use it constantly just to keep dialogue moving.
Yeah.
So let's say I ask you to grab a coffee. Want to grab a coffee after work? Give me the efficient baseline response.
Yeah, sure.
Lightning fast, no wasted breath.
Just a quick confirmation.
Now give me the sarcastic, suspicious response. You know I only want coffee because I need you to help me move my furniture.
Sure.
The hesitation, that half-second pause before you spoke, is doing an incredible amount of heavy lifting.
Oh, yeah.
It physically demonstrates your brain analyzing my hidden motives.
It is all about the reaction timing. If I delay my response by even a fraction of a second, I am mechanically signaling doubt.
So the takeaway for someone listening to this isn't to be afraid of short words, right? Or to try and avoid them.
Not at all.
It's to realize that short answers are just the vehicle for efficiency. You have to start listening to the music, the pitch, the pauses, the speed, rather than just literally translating the lyrics.
That is a perfect way to put it. And the music doesn't just apply to single words. If we zoom out from individual phrases to the macro level of a real-time conversation, we hit a totally different structural issue.
What's that?
It's what happens in the spaces between the words. It's the conversational space itself.
Of the combat zone.
The combat zone is a great way to describe it, because when native speakers get into a natural, excited flow, it stops looking like a polite turn-taking exercise and starts looking like a chaotic free-for-all.
It really does.
Yeah.
People ask questions rapidly, they interrupt each other, they disagree openly, they react immediately.
Yeah, it's very fast-paced.
I want to channel the internal monologue of a lot of our listeners right now.
Okay.
If I grew up in a culture where interrupting is considered a deep, personal insult, where you wait for the other speaker to completely finish their thought, you leave a respectful beat of silence, and only then do you speak.
Right.
How do I emotionally rewire myself to accept an interruption? Because if someone jumps in halfway through my sentence, my brain immediately screams, they don't respect me.
And that is such a valid, visceral reaction. I mean, to rewire that instinct, you have to understand the mechanical purpose of the interruption in English.
Okay, what is the purpose?
Well, in a high turnover conversation, a pause is actually interpreted as a breakdown in communication.
A breakdown?
Yeah. If you leave that respectful beat of silence, the native speaker panics. They think, wait, did they not understand me? Are they offended? Did the Zoom call just freeze?
Oh, wow. So the silence, which you are actively using to show respect, is generating anxiety for the native speaker.
Exactly. So they jump in to rescue the conversation. In many English-speaking cultures, overlapping someone isn't combative. It is intensely collaborative.
I think linguists call it cooperative overlapping, right?
Yes, cooperative overlapping. It shows that they are actively listening and so engaged with your idea that they literally cannot contain their enthusiasm. They just have to jump in.
It's not your thoughts don't matter. It's I am so invested in your thoughts that we are now basically building this sentence together.
Exactly. They are demonstrating active participation. And this exact same mechanism applies to direct disagreement, which is another massive shock for people adjusting to the language.
Oh, the blunt disagreement is brutal.
It really is.
In some languages, if you disagree with a colleague, you have to perform this massive diplomatic dance. You apologize. You validate their intelligence. You might say something like, I completely understand your brilliant point and you are very wise, but perhaps we could humbly consider this alternative.
Right, lots of padding.
And in English, a coworker will just look at you across the table and say, no, that won't work. Let's do it the other way.
And the learner is left sweating in their chair thinking, did I just lose my job? Are we enemies now?
It goes right back to data compression. Why spend 50 words softening a blow when 3 words evaluate the idea efficiently?
And there is a deep psychological assumption underlying that efficiency. The English speaker is actually trusting the relationship.
Trusting it how?
Well, they are operating on the assumption that your baseline connection is strong enough to handle a direct, logical critique without needing emotional bubble wrap.
Oh, I see.
They aren't attacking your character, they are just troubleshooting the idea.
They assume you can read between the lines. If their body language is relaxed and their tone is engaged, the blunt no is just a standard part of the problem-solving flow. It's not a declaration of war.
Exactly. So much of learning to actually communicate in English is decoupling the technical grammar from this emotional rhythm.
Right.
You might be speaking with perfect syntax, perfect vocabulary, but if you are playing a slow waltz and the native speaker is playing fast-paced heavy metal, The collision is going to feel deeply uncomfortable.
And that discomfort is completely normal. I think that's the ultimate takeaway here. Understanding English at a conversational level isn't just a linguistic exercise, it is a psychological one.
It really...
You have to internalize the values driving the system. The need for speed, the respect for time, the directness.
And when you finally grasp that the underlying emotional rhythm is built on efficiency rather than constant reassurance, the language suddenly stops feeling so aggressive. You realize those short answers aren't cold, they're just optimized. You see that interruptions aren't disrespectful, they're actually a sign that someone is totally locked into what you're saying.
So if you are out there practicing and you feel that sudden spike of panic because someone gave you a flat sot, sure, give yourself some grace.
Absolutely.
You aren't failing. You are just learning the mechanics of a new cultural software. And it takes time to upgrade your system to process it.
And, maybe give the native speakers a little grace, too. They aren't trying to be rude. They are just operating on the frequency they were wired for.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a final thought. We spent all this time talking about how jarring English can feel to you, but I want you to kind of flip the script.
Oh, I love flipping the script. What's the thought?
Think about the natural rhythm of your own native language, the way you show politeness, the apologies, the musicality. If you could somehow force an English speaker to adopt the exact emotional rhythm of your language while speaking English, would they sound overly dramatic?
Oh, that's interesting.
Would they sound awkwardly formal? Or maybe even untrustworthy because they are suddenly using way too many words to answer a very simple question?
That is a fascinating mental exercise.
It leads to the ultimate question, really. How does speaking English change your own personality?
Oh, wow.
When you finally embrace this fast, highly compressed, direct rhythm, do you become a slightly different version of yourself? Does the language actually rewire you?
Language always shapes identity. That's a profound thing to ponder the next time you find yourself naturally interrupting a friend in English.
It absolutely is. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us and exploring the hidden mechanics of language. We hope your next conversation feels a little clearer and a whole lot less intimidating.
Keep practicing, keep listening, and we will catch you next time on English Unfiltered.